Tales from the Treehouse.
Hi, I'm Ben. Welcome to Tales from the Treehouse. I'm going to tell you a story, so make sure you're feeling nice and comfy. Make sure you're lying or sitting down, not too warm, not too cold, just feeling relaxed. To help, take a breath in and out. In for 3, 1, 2, 3. Out for 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In for 3, 1, 2, 3. Out for 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Soft, calm, and relaxed. This will help your imagination flow. This is a listening story, so that you can close your eyes if you like, and watch the pictures to go with the story just come into your mind. Imagine what all the characters look like for you, and walk through their world with them. Here we go. The Golden Goose. Long ago, when pigs could talk, logs could walk, and dogs ate currant buns, there was a man who had 3 sons. The youngest son was called Timmy. He wasn't a very clever young man. The rest of the world worried about all the important things, like where food, water, and good health were going to come from, and sometimes about the nasty grot stinkers that lived on the other side of the wood of bad smells. Sometimes they would come and steal the people's prunes and baked beans. But Timmy just smiled and went about happy in his own little world, feeling kind and good to all, without ever thinking about anything. But because of this, his brothers always teased him, called him unkind names, and wouldn't let him join in with any fun. One day, the eldest son, who was called Terence, had to go into the wood of bad smells to cut wood. His mother gave him the most wonderful packed lunch to eat, with ham sandwiches, crisps, a chocolate biscuit, a little pot of yoghurt, and some fruit to eat, and some juice to drink, and off he went. When he got to the wood, he met a little grey man, who came straight up to him and said, "Please give me some of that lovely packed lunch you have, and some of your juice. I am so hungry and thirsty." But Terence saw nothing in this for him, and replied, "If I do as you ask, I'll have less food for myself. Get along with you, old man." The old man went away, but soon after, as Terence was chopping his first log, the axe bounced off and cut him on the arm so badly he had to go home without any wood. Do you think it served him right? Well, anyway, next, the second son decided that he should go and chop wood, because his brother hadn't managed to do it. He was called David. His mum gave him the same lunch to eat, ham sandwiches, crisps, a chocolate biscuit, a little pot of yoghurt and a piece of fruit, and some juice to drink, and off he went. When David got to the wood, he too met the little grey man, who came straight up to him and said, "Please give me some of that packed lunch you have, and some of your juice. I'm so hungry and thirsty." But David saw nothing in this for him either, and said, "If I do as you ask, I'll have less food and drink for myself. Get along with you, old man." The little grey man went away, but soon after, as David was chopping his first log, the axe bounced off and cut him on the leg so badly he had to go home without any wood. Do you think it served him right too? Now when David got home, Timmy decided that he would go and get some wood, as the other two had failed. His mother and father said he couldn't go. If his brothers couldn't bring any wood home without getting hurt, Timmy would surely end up worse. But Timmy insisted, and in the end his mum and dad reluctantly said he could go. But his mum didn't give him a nice packed lunch. He got a bit of stale bread and some sour milk, some gone-off milk to drink. He got no butter, no jam, or anything. I think you can fairly safely say that poor Timmy was not as loved as much as he should have been, particularly compared to his brothers. Anyway, When he got to the woods, he too met the little grey man, who came straight up to him and said, "Please give me some of your lovely packed lunch and juice. I'm so hungry and thirsty." Now Timmy was a kind soul and didn't think about himself much at all. So he replied, "What I've got you are welcome to share, but it's not packed lunch and juice, I'm afraid. It's only stale bread and sour milk." "Are you sure?" said the little grey man. And when Timmy took out his lunch, he found it had become ham sandwiches, a packet of crisps, a chocolate biscuit, a little pot of yoghurt, a piece of fruit, and some juice, after all. So they shared the meal happily together. And when the little grey man had had enough, he said, "You've done something very kind to me today, and I want to give you something very special in return. Go and dig up that tree stump over there, and you shall find something underneath. It's yours to keep." Then he walked off into the wood of bad smells. Timmy got digging straight away, and when he pulled the stump out of the ground, he found beneath it a goose that had feathers made of pure gold. It was the most beautiful thing Timmy had ever seen. "Oh, lucky me!" cried Timmy, and he gathered the goose up underneath one arm and completely forgot to go home. He just walked off thinking he had everything he needed and he didn't need to go home ever again. Maybe because they didn't look after him well enough before. And he decided to spend the night in an upstairs room at the pub in the village. As he went upstairs to go to sleep, two young sisters who lived nearby saw him with the goose and said, "Hey, let's creep into his room when he's asleep and take a feather from the goose. We could sell it for lots of money." When Timmy fell asleep, sure enough, one of the girls crept into his room and tried to pluck a feather from the goose. But the moment she touched it, she found she could not pull away. She was stuck to it. Her sister then appeared at the door. The first girl said, "Don't touch the goose, you'll get stuck to it." But her sister replied, "Leave it out, sis. Come on, let go of the silly thing," and tried to pull her away by the arm. But she found that she was stuck to her sister. In the morning, Timmy picked up the goose under his arm and, without paying any notice to the two girls hanging off the goose, set off from the inn and down the road, pulling the girls behind him. The town policeman saw what was happening and went over to the two girls, saying, "How dare you play in the road like that? It's not safe at all. Let go of that boy." And he pulled the arm of the second girl, and what do you think happened? That's right, stuck fast he was. Then a posh teacher saw him and cried, "Oh dear, officer, what are you doing? Come away from there." He pulled at the policeman's arm, and what happened? That's right, he couldn't let go either. Then the policeman spotted a couple of gardeners digging in a field by the road. "Do come and help us, please," he called to them, and they ran over. But as soon as they touched the teacher's coat, they were stuck too. Then this ridiculous procession came to a town that was ruled by a king. The king had a daughter who was very beautiful, but very miserable all the time. The king had said to everyone that if anyone could make his daughter laugh, then they could marry her. This princess was at the window of the king's palace, just as Timmy, the two girls, the policeman, the posh teacher, and the two gardeners paraded past the palace, all shouting and yelling, tugging and squawking, except for Timmy, who hadn't even noticed they were there. She saw them, and thinking it was the funniest thing she'd ever seen, she laughed and laughed and could not stop laughing until she'd been taken to her father, who was so happy to see her in such a state, he burst into tears of happiness. And this made the princess laugh all over again. You know how it is sometimes. Once you start, you just can't stop. Anyway, Timmy was brought to the king. The king was all ready to congratulate him, but the first thing Timmy did was to point to the king's crown and say, "Why are you wearing that Christmas decoration on your head?" The princess collapsed in laughter. But the king thought,
I can't let this silly man marry my daughter.
but he said out loud,
You may marry my daughter if you bring me a boat that can be used on water or land.
Pretty unfair, I'm sure you'd agree. But Timmy was not put off. He decided to go back to the Wood of Bad Smells and look for the little grey man. Maybe he'd help him again. And he found him in the woods, in just the place he'd last seen him, and told him what the king had said. The little grey man said some strange magic words. What do you think they were? Do you know any? And behold, a boat appeared that could be used on water or land. It hovered just a little way above the ground, so it didn't matter what was underneath it. As Timmy climbed in to sail back to the palace, the little grey man said, I've done all these things for you because you were so kind and generous to me. Farewell, Timmy. And Timmy returned to the palace with the boat. And unable to refuse any longer, the king said he could marry his daughter. The princess was delighted with this. She had the funniest husband she could ever wish for. There was a great celebration, and I heard that one day Timmy and his princess became king and queen of that land themselves, and they ruled it very well, because Timmy made the people happy, and the princess was very sensible and managed to organise everything for him. And so that land was happy for many years. And that's the end of my story as I heard it said, and if there's a fib in it, I'm off home to bed. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story today. There will be another one soon, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel or our blog so you get a message when the next one is ready. If you'd like to draw a picture of a scene you imagined from the story today, then I'd love to put it on our video here or on our website for other children to see. Please take a photo of your picture and email it to us at info@treehousetheatre.com. I was Ben all this time. Until next time, cheerio.
Tales from the Treehouse.